Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with Jim, a former soldier who suffers from PTSD, and has nightmares about his battles. He arrives at Sylvia's place dressed in a suit. She is the girlfriend of his best buddy, Mike, and she forbids him from drinking, because he is hooked on it. Mike is unemployed, in contrast to Sylvia, who is a lawyer. He lies to her about his job hunts, but Jim has arrived to assist him in finding one. They decide to enjoy a morning beer despite Sylvia's cautions. They arrive at LAPD to pick up a document, while discussing Jim's financial problems in the relationship. Jim learns that he is no longer qualified to be a police officer candidate. He loses control, and begins yelling at the automobile in front of him, but Mike calms him down, and persuades him to phone the sheriff's department and try his luck there. They decide to mess things up. They both buy some beers, and proceed to the liquor store's cash register. Mike wants to buy a few cigarettes rather than the entire pack, but the clerk refuses. Jim insults the clerk and gets his cigarettes. He gets outside the store and sees a man being chased by a thug with a gun. They get some guns, and spot a merchant on the street, hiding his bag of substances by a well. They decide to steal it and drive away. Addie, a Mexican girl, refuses Jim entry into the house, which he disregards and proceeds to see his ex-girlfriend. Her boyfriend arrives at the front door. Jim flees through the back door, but only for a short time, because Flacco cuts him off and captures him. 4 other guys come out of the car, and begin mobbing him. Just as Jim is being attacked, Mike arrives, and gives him a gun. He threatens Flacco and his men, forcing them to sit on a curb, while he steals their money and drives away. They are dividing the profits after their successful escape, and Mike brings out a bag containing 2 firearms, that he took from Flacco's car. They make the decision to sell them. Jim receives a call from Homeland Security, while sipping beers at an apartment, and agrees to report to their office the next day, to begin testing. He is advised that a urine analysis is required, but he recognizes that he has smoked some. However, it will not stop him. Jim arrives at Mike's residence in the morning. While he gets a vinegar shot to shut down his kidneys, Sylvia makes him coffee, gives Mike lunch money, and leaves for work. A little later, they also leave the house. Jim has another idea in mind for improved urine analysis, that he recalls from his time in the army. It's revolting, but it'll do the job. Contestants are asked to remove their jackets and jewelry, while waiting in line. When the next person is required to enter the testing area, Jim pushes him out of the way, and skips the line. The commander requests Jim's complete name, and orders him to conduct the analysis. Agent Richards is aware Jim is a ranger, and has some urine testing techniques. They discuss how it felt to shoot someone in the army, while driving to a site where they are meant to sell the guns. Jim explains he always moves forward and does not stop to think about it. Daryl, the Old Spice guy, welcomes them inside. He explains he just came out of jail and has no plans to return. Jim informs him of his new work opportunity, and displays the weapons to him. Unfortunately, Daryl lacks the funds to purchase the guns, so he advises selling them to someone else. Meanwhile, Mike asks Daryl for a favor, calling his house. This way, his girlfriend will think he's seeking a job in his spare time. They arrive at a bar, and agree that it would be best if they did not wear the outfits there. So they change their clothes, and enter and order some drinks. Jim invites an attractive lady to show them who Eddie, the alleged weapon buyer, is. They shake hands and Eddie takes a seat at the table. When they reach an agreement, Eddie is stabbed in the neck, and bleeds to death out of nowhere. Jim and Mike bolt, sprinting to their car. As they drive away, Mike is terrified. Jim describes how, when in the army, he witnessed far worse. One of his pals had his arms and legs blown off, and survived. When Mike gets home, Sylvia tells him that she believes she is doing everything on her own, and that Mike is her little baby. He suggests she listen to the phony voice message Daryl left for him. Unfortunately, Daryl did not quickly put the phone down, and Sylvia can hear Jim's voice in the background. She becomes enraged and kicks Mike out of the house. Later at night, Agent Richards calls Jim to inform him he has passed the analysis, and must return to finish testing. Jim claims he will easily pass the psychological test. Richard proposes getting a cup of coffee. Jim has already completed his test. He tells Jim he was released from LAPD due to his psych exams. Jim is assured that his Spanish knowledge will be checked, and he is welcome here, since people from above are keeping an eye on him. While Jim is being examined, Mike is waiting for a job interview in a lobby. When the interviewee arrives, he finds that he and Mike are old acquaintances. They board the elevator and ascend to his office. Jim is picked up from his testing by Mike, who offers him a beer. He is overjoyed to inform him about his potential new employment and his hourly rate for the benefits. Jim describes how he was chosen for a polygraph test, and he will easily pass it. While sitting in a lie detector chair, Jim is explained how he should respond. The questions on the test, however, are about smoking stuff. Later, Agent Richards meets with Jim and informs him that they are concerned about his candor. They enter the regional director's office, where Mr. Gillespie is also there. Agent Richards discusses the circumstances and how THC metabolites were discovered in his study. Jim claims that he smoked the stuff because he was upset over not being accepted into the LAPD. Because of his fearless behavior in the Army, Mr. Gillespie, who handles various missions, wants Jim to join the anti-narcotics campaign in Latin America. Jim states his desire to get married, yet despite this, he accepts to join the team in Colombia. He leaves the workplace and gets in his car, where they celebrate the good news for them both. Jim reports a police car is behind them to stop over, as they are drinking their beer. However, Jim claims that he can ditch these men and steal the video from their trunk. Nonetheless, they are worried about the stolen guns in their vehicle. The cops come out of the car, and draw their weapons. Fortunately, the police officer turns out to be a friend of theirs, and they talk about Mike and Jim's new professions. Jim offers their gun sale without hesitation. Leo rejects and offers another man who might be interested. He leaves his phone number, and they agree to go partying in the evening, but Mike throws it out the window the moment he departs. In the evening, they arrive at the home of a buddy. Tucson congratulates Jim on his new job, while Jim presents him with the gun. Being hyped up, he immediately buys the pistol, and offers to take them partying, but Jim suggests a better plan: go to Mexico. They stop by Sylvia's house on their route, so Mike may inform her about the wonderful news of gaining a job. She is overjoyed and kisses him. A little later, they proceed to their bedroom. Jim and his pal are tired of waiting, and decide to hurry him up. Mike emerges from the bedroom, stunned, and informs him that he will remain. Jim is upset, because this is their last chance to hang out before he leaves for Colombia. He compares Mike to his brother, who he considers a weak individual. Sylvia, on the other hand, does not want Mike to go with him. She considers him to be a dangerous man. Mike mentions that he promised, which irritates her. Nonetheless, they abandon the house and travel to Mexico. Jim awakens them and welcomes them with his girlfriend, Marta, and her family. They all go to the lake, where they drink beers, and sit on enormous boulders on the beach, while women wash their clothes. Jim informs both his buddies that he is being moved to Colombia, and will most likely not marry Marta. Tucson agrees when Mike suggests that Jim marry her and relocate to Mexico. Jim is unconcerned and says he will go. Later, the pals are visiting a tiny Mexican festival with live music. They're drinking beers, when Jim proposes Mike dance with a female, who has her eye on him. Mike refuses to cheat on Sylvia, but accepts to dance with her, but she tells him she's pregnant, and wants to have the baby. He loses control, and holds a gun to her head. Mike notices what is going on, and calms him down. They grab Tucson and drive off down. In the driveway, Jim's gone insane. He's drinking and driving fast, but Mike is trying to slow him down. Tucson is speechless, and when they drop him off, he urges Jim to get severe psychological help, but he seems uninterested in the advice. While describing the problem to Marta, Jim casually adds that he has 40 pounds of weed in the trunk. He proposes dropping it off, and making some extra money. Mike becomes enraged, and wants to be let out of the car, forcing Jim to lose control. He pulls out a gun and points it at Mike, who is horrified by this. However, Mike agrees to go and drop off the stuff. They arrive at Casper's residence. Jim opens the trunk and takes the luggage. Casper shouts for someone to bring out the cash, when he announces they have something for him. Casper's money laundering buddy turns out to be Flaco. Both adversaries draw their firearms, and point them at each other. Everyone advises Mike to leave, but he refuses. Despite Mike's pleas, Jim loses control and shoots Flaco, Casper, and two more of the buddies. Jim's actions had entirely taken Mike by surprise. Jim gets in the car, and they drive away, but Grandpa comes out of Casper's house with a shotgun, and shoots at their car, striking Jim with a few bullets. Mike pulls over, and plans to take Jim to the hospital. Jim, however, does not want to be looked after. He is unable to feel his arms or legs, he's deeply hurt, and just wants Mike to end his life and leave as soon as possible. After that, Jim confesses that he wanted to feel what it was like to murder someone. Mike holds a gun to Jim's head, and declares that he loves him. He pulls the trigger and flees. We see Sylvia pack all their belongings into her car. Mike hugs her, while still in astonishment, and they leave. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe us for more videos.